You're listening to the TEPIS Paranormal Talking Point podcast, a show that discusses various aspects of the paranormal world, with paranormal news, ghost stories, interviews, and much more. And without further ado, let's get into some talking points. Hi guys, Scott here from TEPIS Paranormal, and welcome back to another episode of the TEPIS Paranormal Talking Point podcast. So today, my guest is Richard Felix. Now, Richard is probably most well known for his time on the TV show Most Haunted, where he served as a historian for over 120 episodes. But as we'll go on to find out in this interview, Richard also owns a highly active paranormal location within the UK. We're going to take a bit of time to talk about Richard's beliefs, his time on Most Haunted, the location that he owns, and a number of other things, including working with Derek Ikora, what he thinks of ghost hunting shows, and more. So without further ado, please sit back and enjoy this interview. So thank you for joining me, Richard.
My pleasure.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, giving us a little introduction to you?
Where do I begin? Oh my God. Yeah, well, I suppose obviously it's the ghost bit we're interested in. So what started this? I became chairman of Derby Tourism, and I took over a building that had got a ghost in it. It's an old Tudor grammar school. And the little boy, about 12, had been seen upstairs in what used to be the dormitories. And being chairman of Derby Tourism, I was trying to find a way of bringing visitors to Derby. And I thought, well, York do ghost walks. And I did the first ghost walk, and I hated it. I thought, this is rubbish. Sorry, if I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to believe in it, or believe what I'm telling people, if you know what I mean. And some of the stories that I'd gleaned from wherever, from books, I don't know, whatever. I thought, this is rubbish, this is silly, this is nonsense. And so I didn't do one for about 8 months afterwards, because I sort of started researching into it and came up with what I believe to be a ghost walk that is credible, people could believe, and tied the history in with it, because that's where I come in. I so much believe that ghosts and history go together.
Yeah.
I can't prove the ghost stories, but we can certainly prove the history behind why the ghost is there, if you know what I mean. And that's really how it started. And it's become huge. You know, I mean, I've had Derby declared the most haunted city in Great Britain, with York and Chester joint second, which wasn't, York wasn't very happy about it, as you can probably well imagine, but and that's all there is to it now. Derby is the ghost capital of England. And it snowballed really from there, big time. All sorts, TV and all sorts of silly stuff and books, and I've done 60 DVDs, videos I could call them now, not DVDs, because the DVD game's over, isn't it now? Different, 37 counties of Great Britain on video, ghosts of Lancashire, Leicestershire, Derby, wherever. Whether I'll live long enough to finish the ghost tour of Great Britain is another matter, because I've got quite a few counties that I still haven't done. Then obviously books, anything to do with ghosts and history. But my passion actually is history, is military history. Swords, uniforms, soldiers, battles, uniform, that sort of stuff, So this is not ghosts are not my hobby. It's my job. It's my profession. There's a difference. But luckily, I'm very happy to say that I enjoy my job.
Cool. So obviously you said about working on TV during that. You were obviously part of Most Haunted for quite a number of seasons.
Quite a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, I believe it was over 120 episodes you were a part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
20 odd lives. Gosh.
Obviously, what was that like? What was that? How did that start, I guess, to begin?
Well, yeah, it started with because I took over Derby Jail, you see, as well. After I used to take people on ghost walks there, and I realised the huge potential of the place, because it was just a seedy nightclub when I took it over, And I saw the potential of turning it back to try and turn it back to what it looked like in 1756. And I got a call from a company called Antics Productions, asking if they could come and do one of their programs on Series 1 at Derby Jail. I said, yeah, by all means, of course you can. 750 quid, location fee, and away we go. And obviously, I was there during the night, obviously, as my building, you know. And after the event, about two months later, I would think, something like that, I got a phone call from Yvette asking if it would be possible for Carl to come down to see me, because they had a proposition for me. So I said, by all means, yeah. So anyway, Carl said to me, well, as the owner of the building and also as a witness, because I'd seen a ghost in the jail at 3:15 on a Friday afternoon, we should have given you a 2-minute slot on the show. But he said, to be honest with you, Richard, after half an hour, we just did not know where to edit it. Would you like a job? And the rest is most haunted history. So that's how it started.
Cool.
Great.
So obviously, Most Haunted went on for quite a while. They're still doing it now, obviously on YouTube, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, back on again. Yeah.
So how did you find the entire process of, you know, working on Most Haunted, working with Yvette, Carl, working obviously with Derek?
Yeah. Well, and absolute ball. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it. It was great. I mean, one of the most fabulous things about it was being in places that you wouldn't normally get into. And not only that, but even places that you can get into, getting into the places in those places that no one gets into, was especially for me, history-wise as well, was just beyond anything. It was fabulous, and we had a ball. Honestly, I mean, it was. I mean, you know, hence the name Antics, as they got up to. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But my problem was that how can I put this? They obviously expected a ghost every 5 minutes, and quite rightly they understood that Joe Public out there probably wanted a ghost every 5 minutes, and loads of scare factor, because all ghosts apparently are supposed to be scary, which they're not. The profession of a ghost, if it had one, which they haven't, but if it had, it wouldn't be to scare you. They're not there to get us. They were you and me once. And so, but you know, I understand that, because every ghost program I've ever seen now is full of scares, full of, you know, people running away all the time, which I find really strange, because you've got all these big butch blokes dressed in black, right, running around, you know, looking for ghosts, and the moment something happens, they all scream and run off. Well, surely you should rejoice. You're a ghost hunter. You've come to look for ghosts, and you found something that you believe to be. Don't run away. Just don't do it. You know. And to me, that's anyway. So, in other words, every time a door slammed or anything else, it was always a scary ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all I wanted to do was to be able to go away and see if someone's left a window open, because actually it's a windy night.
Yeah,
and that's actually the reason that the door slammed shut, or not. But no, it's a scary ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that to be quite honest with you, so I'm different to most ghost hunters as such, because, well, I don't know whether I am a ghost hunter, actually. Probably not. I'm just trying to prove what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily looking for them, because I'm frightened of them anyway. Would you believe? But I'm actually trying to prove what they are,
mm-hmm.
Which is different, because I believe that I am the voice of reality as regards ghosts and what they are. Whereas Be careful what you say, Richard. But most of them, the TV presenters, or riggers, or
camera crew,
cameramen, or makeup people, or and they have to, they don't really know what ghosts are all about. Ghosts are all about scary. No, they're not. And so I decided it was time for me to go.
That's fair.
And that was it, really. But I thank them for what they've done for me, for my profile. We wouldn't be talking tonight, I don't think, if it hadn't been for Most Haunted. And so many people out there going ghost hunting and TV, because all the TV programs that are on, they all sort of mimic Most Haunted. We started it, because before we were there, all there was Strange But True with Michael Aspel. I don't know whether you won't remember that, but that was tremendous. Documentary style, if you know what I mean, but very good program, I suppose. But other than that, no, not really.
I guess you were the first. You were the first reality sort of ghost hunting show.
Reality ghost program, which set the scene for everything that's happening now, and has created the most incredible debate, argument, discussion, interest, and research. Because there's so many ghost hunters out there now, and let's be honest, most of the big discoveries on the planet have been made by amateurs. So who knows? One day, someone may just capture a ghost in a bottle.
And I suppose it is sort of that. A lot of people that are ghost hunting now obviously would have grown up. I guess the modern generation of ghost hunter would have grown up watching ghost hunting shows. Probably would have been watching Most Haunted, and it's sort of that the impact it has on the field now.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and of course it's still on. It's repeat. It's something I find strange that they've never repeated any of the lives.
No.
I know that, someone was 7 days long. But I'm surprised that they've not created them in like series form or something like that.
But
no, nothing.
I've watched a few of the lives, and like you say, it's weird that I've watched them back now as things people have recorded straight off the TV. Like that. But it's obviously when you're watching it now, not live, but it's presented. Obviously, it's being presented as if it's live because it was live at the time. It's kind of weird. Whereas, like you say, if it were edited more like an episode as opposed to a live broadcast,
I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's not been done.
It was certainly with the popularity of the whole damn program. I am surprised that nobody's picked that up and thought, we'll do this series wise, and as you quite rightly say, edited, of course. Which it could be done easily, I presume.
I think it would just, so, obviously, in terms of your paranormal beliefs, we'll get on to what you believe, what you've experienced in a minute. I want to sort of start by asking what your thoughts are on psychics and mediums.
Well, first, I obviously mentioned Sauntered and working with, and again, working with Derek, God bless him, you see, I worked with Derek after Most Haunted. We did live stage shows. God knows how many, 20 odd, 20 something, called Psychic and Science. It was a 3-hour stage show. And I saw a very different Derek on the live shows that we did with Joe Public, obviously an audience, to what I saw on Most Haunted, because it was, well, obviously, most of it, loads of it was staged. It had to be on TV, staged and edited. Whereas obviously live stage shows is different. And although on the show Derek was very much a showman, which he was anyway. And that was part of it. He came up with some stuff that I was gobsmacked with, because people say to me, "Do you believe in mediums?" And I say, "Well, I believe in ghosts. So surely I have to believe in mediums." But I know only too well, like most professions and most things, there's a hell of a lot of charlatans out there that are playing at it and pretending and playing at most haunted type, But yeah, I believe it to be a gift. I believe it to be a gift that we've all got, but most of us will never realize it.
Yeah.
In the same way, as I say so often, we all have a gift to be able to play the piano without reading music, because there are lots of people out there, lots of human beings that can play. Never read a piece of music in their life, can't read it, but you can just sit down and play tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I find that because I can't do it. But wow. But the only difference between that and a medium is that the pianist can prove it.
Yeah.
Because they just sit down and play the piano.
Yeah.
The medium can't prove that they're talking to your dead grandma.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Because why can't they? I mean, there are lots of people I speak to, lots of people out there that say, "Oh, I went to see this medium. They were incredible. They gave me so much information." But you see, it's the only profession that I know of. You can get 27 things wrong and one right, and you're really marvelous. Because we want to believe it.
Mm-hmm. That's a
we
very
want
fair
to believe
point.
that they're talking to dad, mum,
Mm-hmm.
granddad, brother, and we do tend to alter the goalposts for the medium.
Yeah, it is like you say that what we're expecting from them, and what is, like you said, what's considered to be a really successful reading or a really successful prediction, or a really successful call. It doesn't matter that the last 15 things have been very generic and very, it's, you see a lot of, with mediums, you see a lot of, I'm sensing there was a woman, I'm sensing that she was motherly. And it's like, these are all really generic things.
Sister, auntie,
yeah,
mother, stepmother.
that broad spectrum covers about 15 members of your family.
Oh, geez. So we pick one, and you do pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And the scar on the knee, of course. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Scar on the knee.
I think probably the most common sort of scarring.
I think we've all got one somewhere on our knee, on one of our knees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, but then again, I don't think they're doing any harm.
No.
They should change the name to death counselor or something. Because I think if the old lady, her old man's died, she's 85 and he died 3 months ago, and she's told that he's stood by the bed every night and he's waiting for her to come, and he is there, and he still loves her.
It's all these really positive things.
Yes. Oh yeah. I think from that point of view, I don't think it does any harm. But I want to know, are they talking to your dead grandma up there, or hovering above, or wherever? Or do they have the same ability that the police have when they've confiscated your laptop? You've removed all those images from the laptop, but they're actually still there, somewhere stored on that hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
And the police have a way of getting them back. Yeah. So is the same thing up here in your hard drive? Memories from past relatives that are, because he's so good at playing the violin. Oh, do you know his great granddad was a concert violinist? And do you understand where I'm coming from? So in other words, are they mind readers? That's paranormal, by the way, to me.
Yeah, of course.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, are they?
I wish I did know, but I don't.
Yeah, it's one of those things, obviously, without being able to do it yourself, you're always going off of what someone else tells you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I believe it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of gift it is, I'm not sure.
Cool. So, obviously, you're a big fan of the paranormal.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say is, I guess, your best experience of the paranormal?
There's not that many. surprisingly enough. I mean, obviously, I've seen a ghost, I've heard a ghost, and I've travelled with a ghost. I've been in lots of situations where things have happened that I genuinely can't explain. Because I've done, I mean, 100 and now, 20 odd most haunted, so many lives, 60 odd videos where I've done 8, 10, 12 different haunted locations. I've been in a lot of haunted locations. And I always say, if you dance on the M6 long enough, a car will hit you in the end. And it's a bit similar, you've been in haunted locations, so things are going to happen, but not a lot. As I say, seen, heard, travelled, and well, obviously seeing a ghost is that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Everybody, we all want to see a ghost, full on, for more than a blink of an eye, not the corner of the eye, not for 1 second, but for seconds. That's got to be the ultimate for anybody, and that's happened to me, as I say, in Derby Jail, broad daylight, 20 past 3 on a Friday afternoon.
If we can jump in there, can you tell us a little bit about that? What you experienced?
Oh yeah, I mean, surely just the world probably knows, but yeah, I mean, there was me all alone in Derby Jail, on the phone to a guy from Derby City Council, standing in what was a prison cell, but it's the kitchen of the jail, and it has as a seedy nightclub. I'm afraid it was knocked to pieces, and apertures and holes were windows and door were all cut in, and there was an aperture leading into a corridor. The corridor that they went up to be hanged. And I'm stood there talking to a guy from Derby City Council when this grey, hazy person, ghost, glided past me. It wasn't male, it wasn't female, it wasn't clothed. It was a grey, hazy shape of a person. But it was as grey as grey. It was the grey. That's the thing I say. It was so grey, and it was like what's the word? A haze, a mist, but I couldn't see through it.
Okay.
And I so 2 seconds, because I saw it and I sensed it. And I'm not talking to the corner of the eye. I'm stood full on, facing, looking at it as it glides past, and for at least 4 seconds, until it glided away from that window, open window. Well, it's not a window; it's a cutout aperture. And then there's obviously a wall, a corner in the way, and I lost it. But I then did what everybody does and converted it to reality. It's a rather strange looking person, but we're not open, but someone's come in. So I put the phone down and stuck my head round the counter and shouted, "Excuse me," expecting there's someone to be there.
Yeah.
And of course there was nobody there.
It's that.
At all.
I think it's like you say, the brain sort of immediately tries to rationalise it.
Got to all the time. Yeah. And no, that was and I went back on the phone telling this guy I'd seen a ghost, and stayed on a little longer than we'd anticipated, because remember, I'm frightened to go. By the way, it didn't get me, because they don't. It just, I don't think it knew I was there. I don't know. It just, I sensed it though, as well as seeing it. And that was it. That was 15 years ago, 18 years ago, probably now. Never seen it again. And I've been there in the same position. But you see, I think it may have been something to do with the phone that for some reason changed my frequencies in the receiver and caused me to see something that actually is there all the time, or doing that all the time. I don't know, it's a possibility. Because one thing I've not done, and I should have done it a long time ago, was when I interview people to had a paranormal experience, ask them what sort of frame of mind they were in when they saw it, heard it, sensed it, or felt it. In other words, had they had an argument? Were they very depressed? Were they very excited? Had their football team beat another football team? Did you hear what I'm coming from? Where in fact the frequencies possibly changed in your receiver up here, which caused you to get a glimpse into another channel.
Yeah, into another sort of wavelength almost.
Yes. Yes. It's a possibility.
Yeah,
and I've never done it. I should have done a long time ago.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid. I think it's a very valid theory.
I think so. Something makes you. In other words, that's why one person sees it and three others don't.
Yeah, because they're not all on the same.
They're not on the same frequency, not on the same radio channel.
Yeah.
As somebody else, because their frequencies have changed or something. It's a good one. How do you recreate that?
I suppose, it entirely depends.
I don't know. I've been working on it for a long time and thinking, how could you sit someone in a room, in a haunted room, where things have happened in a specific place, and create the same radio waves or whatever that changes the frequency? But what frequency do you change it to?
That's the thing. It's a very almost unmeasurable.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't know what it was at the time to replicate it.
No, exactly. So I don't know.
Cool.
But so seen a ghost. But the other fascinating one for me, what I believe now to be as monumental as seeing a ghost, was a year last Halloween. Done, I don't know how many ghost events, probably 3-4 events that day. And I'd invited people to come back to the jail, and I said, I'll open the bar at 11 o'clock, and I'm going to do ghost stories for Halloween around the fire in the big day room of Derby Jail. Loads of people turned up, came out, everybody having a drink, and I'm doing ghost stories. And I've sat with a glass of whiskey, and on camera, on two cameras, on a young lady's camera and our CCTV, the glass starts sliding along the table towards me without me noticing, by the way. I mean, I picked it up twice, had a drink, put it back down, and you see it start edging towards the end of the table and throws itself off. And then, so, Mr. Reality, at first I leap up, everybody's going, oh, did you see the same old stuff? And the first thing I do is put my hand on the table, is it wet? Because, pint pots can slide along a bar if the bar's saturated with beer or something like that. And the table is as dry as a bone. And another lady gets up and puts her hand up just to put, yep, it's dry as a bone. And then, okay, so obviously by then we get another glass and put it on the table in the same place. And the next thing I do is I start banging the table.
Yeah.
And it doesn't move at all. And so then I actually get up and I shake the table. Well, not dramatically, but shake it, doesn't move. And the other fascinating bit about the whole thing is that when you actually look at the footage, which is on YouTube, guys, the whiskey doesn't move in the glass as the glass is moving across the table.
Odd.
It doesn't shake. It doesn't vibrate. It is really. I have no explanation. Oh yeah, hang on. A lorry was going by down the road. And it caused a vibration. No.
Again, you try to debunk that. Which
you've got to tick the normal boxes.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do on Most Haunted. Start ticking normal boxes first, then really investigate.
Yeah.
If you've got a box without a tick.
It is the classic. Once you eliminate all of the possibilities, whatever remains.
Yeah.
Has to be true. It's
investigating.
Once you've eliminated vibrations or an uneven surface and stuff like that.
Or the wind or window open,
suddenly
or
then
behind the door.
Yeah. Suddenly then it's like, hang on a minute.
This could be something that needs investigating. And never mind the script. Get that, and that's something, of course, that Joe Public would have appreciated so much. If only when something happened that actually you scrapped whatever was in the script and threw caution to the wind and started to investigate that little incident. That's what people wanted to see.
Yeah.
But they never got it.
Yeah. So obviously you have said a couple of times that you own Derby Jail.
Well, I've written.
Yeah,
I've got a very good lease on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You are in control of
it's
it.
the basement, so it's a cellar.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a cellar, but it was used as cellars. So the problem you've got is nobody's ever going to sell you their cellar. You see from the building above,
mm-hmm.
which is a shame actually.
So, what? I guess what led to you getting control of it, or led to you taking control of that?
Yeah. Well, when it was a seedy nightclub, very seedy nightclub, still open at 5:30 in the mornings. It was quite raided by the police all the time. Oh dear! But I used to take people in when I was doing a ghost walk because it was haunted. Obviously, the ghost stories abound, always have, right back to when it's been 3 different nightclubs over its history, as well as everything, all sorts of other things, and cellars for the houses that were converted from the jail above. And so I went in them, and basically, I remember I got a phone call from the lady that was running it, who was going bankrupt, and she offered to sell me all the doors, because the doors of the jail absolutely all original. See, here's something quite interesting. It's one of very few Georgian jails around, because you see most jails have been converted over the years and modernized to in Victorian times. So you know what I mean. So although there was a county jail there from 1700 on offer, most of them now are Victorian, and so they've all got modern doors. Well, not modern doors, but Victorian doors.
Yeah.
Mine's got its original Georgian doors, full of graffiti from the prisoners. Ooh. On the fronts, on the back, and not only those, but witch marks all over the doors. Keep out. Evil spirits keep out. They were frightened of ghosts then, which is really quite something. So she wanted to sell them to me for £100 each, and we've got 9 of them. And I said, well, you can't sell them. It's a grade 2 listed building. Oh, well, she said, I've got a Birmingham dealer that will give me £100 each if you don't have them. So I rang up the authorities and had the building locked up, sealed. They sealed the building off. Then I found out that the bouncers who used to frequent it after 5 o'clock, when they'd finished bouncing, for want of a better word, were going to take it over and turn it into a strip club. And I thought, this building with its history and its pedigree is too good not to be. And remember, I was chairman of Derby Tourism.
Not to be a historical attraction.
And so I took it over and then spent 18 months renovating, turning it back to look as much as it could like it would have done in 1756 when it opened. And that's really how it happened. And obviously, as soon as I got it and started doing it, I started doing a separate ghost walk, the Derby Jail ghost walk from the building. Because then after mine had closed down, they built a new one, 8 minutes walk away, in 1828, and I've since got one of the 2 towers, one of the Martello towers on the building, and also the drop room, the execution room where they hang them.
Cool.
Which is, again, so that's all part of the the events and things. So people now are getting to can we hire Derby Jail? So you get 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, I must admit that's one of the places. Obviously, I think the original email I sent you that led to this was inquiring about renting the jails overnight, which is something that I will be reigniting soon.
One thing I must say, and I don't know why I've never used it as my advertising. I don't need to, but I always say nobody leaves Derby Jail disappointed, and that is absolutely true. Of course, we can't guarantee. Anything, and we certainly don't get full-blown apparitions and glasses moving across the table and throwing them all the time. But people just. Things happen. Things happen. And when you think of the pedigree of the building and the last beheading with an axe in Great Britain took place in front of the building. in 1817. The last sentence of hanging, drawing, and quartering in provincial England, and it's got some good stuff. It really has.
Cool. So obviously, you have been to a lot of locations around the country, from both historical perspectives and a paranormal perspective. One that I want to talk about a little bit and get your thoughts on is the ancient Ram Inn.
Oh dear.
So,
well, I have to say the scariest thing about the Ram Inn was John. I'm afraid. God bless him. Character, to say the least. But I mean, it is a fantastic looking, or was. I haven't been since John passed, so I don't know. But it had got all the ingredients of a haunted house, hadn't it? I mean, it was the absolute epitome of a haunted house, of an ancient haunted house. That's all I've got to say, because I'm not. Nothing happened to me in it, and after Stuart had his little episode there, I went in the room probably 20 minutes afterwards. But just because it didn't happen to me doesn't say it didn't happen to him.
No, of course, that's one of the key things, I guess, with the paranormal.
So much so.
Is it's all, a lot of it's all very experience based. Things happening to other people doesn't have the same impact as when it happens to you. Even when it's people you trust and believe, and you can see that something happened to them, but because you didn't experience it yourself, it's sort of like it doesn't have the same effect.
No. So, in fact, that happens a lot with build. I mean, you've got a prime example of a pub or something like that. Very, very haunted pub. The landlord had all manner of experiences. His wife, this happened. She saw this figure in the bedroom, and then they move out, and another couple come in, and you say, "What about that?" It's a load of rubbish. Nah, nothing here at all. Nothing's ever happened to us. But that doesn't mean to say that it didn't happen to the landlord and his wife beforehand. They may be more sensitive than the new. You know what I mean? We're all individuals, and we're all different. But that's the big one. It annoys me very much so, really, when people sort of say, I never saw anything. So why? So it's not haunted. But so I did that in a way. Just nothing happened to me in the Ram Inn, and I've been more than once. But it is a fabulous looking place.
So I went last year. Me and a couple of people in my group conducted obviously overnight investigation there. And we had something that I consider to be very heavily paranormal happen.
Great.
We went in downstairs towards the end of the night, and there was a word sort of written on the mirror, like smudged into the mirror, which we hadn't noticed, may have been there throughout the night, we weren't really sure. But then we went upstairs, we were all together, we came back downstairs, and the word had been wiped out.
Wow.
And it's sort of nobody could have got to the mirror to wipe it out without hurdling over a bench and climbing over a couple of barrels, because the Ram Inn's full of just just clutter, essentially. So it's sort of nobody could have got there without us knowing. There was obviously nobody else in the building, so there's no physical way really for it to have been wiped off.
Oh, what was the word?
Demon, which is fun.
Yes.
And then, so obviously we were recording it for a YouTube video as well, so we've got the we've got somewhere the full unedited recording of us going into the room, going upstairs, coming back down, all in one take, where you can sort of see everybody there. Nobody's run off to go wipe the mirrors, we're all in frame. And it's definitely still, to me, the weirdest paranormal experience I've had, the most unexplainable.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And what was it smeared with? What do you reckon?
I think it was just sort of, wiped onto a dusty mirror almost.
Oh yeah, like with a finger or?
Yeah, I'd say like a finger. But it was the word demon, and we sort of went in like we hadn't noticed that before. That's a bit creepy. But, you know, thought nothing of it, thought that we just missed it. It was just, you know, the way the light was hitting the mirror this time of night, we hadn't seen it. But then to come back downstairs, 5 minutes later, and it be like visible finger marks through the middle of it. So not just it wasn't there anymore. You could see where some of the word was still there.
Yeah.
But it was like wiped through as if someone had swiped at it. That was, I must admit, that sort of startled me, and I think startled all of us at that point. That was the last thing we did. That was our very last walk around of the night. Anyway, we were already getting ready to leave,
and there was no one else in the building.
There was no one else in the
building. No one alive.
Yeah, there was nobody. So there were 4 of us.
Right.
Obviously, we were all together the entire time.
Oh.
And there's no way anyone could have got over to that, wiped it off, and got back to us in the time frame without.
And why? Why would anybody in your group? You know,
That's
don't get me wrong. I have to say that the wood that I know for a fact that sometimes if you've got a group of Joe Public doing an event, I am sure that somebody part of the crew, because nothing's happened or something like that, I'm not saying any paranormal group ever has, but I'm sure that it probably has happened to give them a little bit of sense of something because nothing's happened. But for investigators, for no reason, for no monetary gain, because you just wouldn't.
Yeah, no,
you just wouldn't do it. Of course, you wouldn't do it.
I mean, like I said, they're all people that I trust,
even if you could.
Yeah. But again, and obviously, you know the RAM. It's an old building. You can't move in there without the floorboards, without everything in the building creaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
The benefit of it being a 1,000-year-old building, or however old it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And again, that's the weirdest experience I've had.
So it's pretty impressive.
And
pretty good.
And the fact we have it on video as well, obviously, makes it better because there is that video evidence of it.
Oh boy, yeah, that's something. Yeah,
cool. So, moving on to the last couple of questions I've got, really. Obviously, you've previously been to, and I always get this wrong, the Haunted Antique Paranormal Research Centre's Power Meet.
Oh yes.
Obviously hosted by Neil.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on paranormal conventions as a whole, just in general?
That's a good question. It's a very interesting question. I mean, obviously, I enjoy them because I go along and do me talks. You know, I try, the more people I can get to giving them my what is a ghost, which is explaining what I believe a ghost is. Because it isn't, it's an energy source, it's energy, that's all it is. The word ghost just means to be frightened of. That's all. So, the word ghost, a ghost, it's not even a noun, it's a verb. It's a describing word.
Yeah.
So anything that we don't understand that flies through the air, moves, I mean, 100 years ago, my electric gates here, it would have been a ghost that opened them. So that's all a ghost is. But but it's an energy source. And the more people I can get that over to, the better. So doing my talk, which I love doing, or talks on ghosts, and I love it. It means I sell loads of books afterwards as well. Which is and sometimes I get paid to go. So I love it from that point of view. What else can I say about a parameet or anything? It's a way of people getting together. It's commercial, obviously, because there are stalls selling stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No.
And it's a way of people communicating with each other, isn't it?
Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I think it's quite good. I've often never done it, but I've often thought of getting together who I believe to be the real voices of reality in the, and I'll call it ghost, in the ghost business or the paranormal. No, the ghost business. That's what I'm interested in, really. The ghost business. Because I mean, there are other sides to the paranormal, like spontaneous human combustion and all sorts of other things that, but the ghost business, and do a really professional debate with an audience, but live on whatever channel, YouTube or I don't know, whatever. But to have what I believe, I consider myself the voice of reality. I wouldn't say I'm an expert.
Very much a rational thinkers, and
that's the word.
Yeah,
a group of rational thinkers that aren't going to be full of the same old. Sorry, be careful, Richard. The same shit that everybody else comes up with. So, you know what I mean? About the scratches and the being dragged out of bed at 2 a.m. and the reality, and I think that could be something that I don't think's ever happened. I'm working on it. I keep talking to Steve Parsons about it and one or two others, and it could be. I don't think it's been done. Perhaps it has. Perhaps.
I mean, it doesn't ring any bells to me. I've not heard of anything like that. And, I've looked into a lot of sort of conventions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that approach to it is very unique, I would say. Yeah.
I think it's overdue. So I need to work on it now before someone else jumps in on the idea and doesn't invite me.
Well, if you ever get that, together, I'd love to attend, obviously, and be in the crowd for that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it could be. I think we'd have to hire the Albert Hall.
Yeah, I think you would get a good turnout for that sort of thing.
I think so. I think we would actually. It's worth seriously thinking about. And I've talked about it before, but it's getting around to it. But that's the plan. That's the plan. That I'll do it now. We've talked about it live, so
cool.
We'll do it.
Perfect. So I think that brings us to the end of all the questions I had there. And if there's anything you want to add?
Anything I want to add? Only the fact that they're going to plug it. So I've just created my own YouTube channel because I've never done it for all these years of doing what I've done. Waiting actually for a TV company to come along and say to me, so you're the voice of reality. You're the credible guy in the ghost business, right? That resigned from most authorities, right? Okay, and of course they won't come to me because what I'm preaching, for want of a better word, or doing might not be scary.
Yeah, I guess what you're sort of saying is almost the opposite of what they want from a ghost show. You're the anti ghost hunter. Yes,
it was your grandma, it's your dad, it's whatever. And as I've said so often, ghosts were you and me once, and most people are very nice. Really, most people are very nice. There is evil, that. We all know there's evil, but most people are nice. So surely that means most ghosts are very nice.
Yeah.
And they're not there to get you, but we're frightened of them because we don't understand it. And that's it. So I've just set up my own YouTube channel. Well, see, I've got 60 videos to put on. Because the DVD game's over. People are not buying DVDs. So I thought, it's about time I let people see them for nothing. So I'm just creating, I've just done it. I've just put 2 videos on. Ghosts of Leicestershire and can't remember the other one. I've just done it. I can't remember, but whatever. Oh, no, I can't remember what I've done. And they've just gone on. Oh, Ghost of Nottinghamshire. And I'm going to start putting them all on. And I'm going to start doing shorts and I'm going to do stuff. And I'm going to create a thing called the Felix Files, which is going to be a show that deals with all the different aspects of the paranormal. From the stone tape theory, ghosts of the church, spontaneous human combustion, poltergeist, there's stuff that screaming skulls, all sorts of stuff, and putting it out there. And I'm hoping that people will enjoy it, because it's something that's not been done.
Yeah, no.
Nobody's done. It will be documentary style, but it will also be, I will still be doing stuff like everybody else does, going into haunted locations. And the difference, of course, is that I am genuinely frightened.
Yeah.
Of ghosts, not not like some whatever. I am really frightened, so it will be difficult for me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Be different. So, and I put the advert in it. It's I don't know anything. It's youtube.com, and it's at Richard Felix channel.
Okay.
I need people to subscribe. I
will put links to all that in the description. Yeah. I'll make sure it's advertised in the various promotions when I put this out.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of this.
Incredible.
So thank you so much for joining me, Richard.
My pleasure. Enjoyed it. Thanks for asking me.
No worries. And once again, I'd like to give a big thank you to Richard for taking the time to be a part of this interview. I'll put all the relevant links to Richard's socials and his YouTube channel in the description down below on the YouTube version of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the interview. It was a pleasure talking to Richard. Let me know your favourite bit in the comments down below. And I've been Scott from TEPIS Paranormal, and I'll see you in the next episode.